Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks a moment of some considerable historical significance, and that's not just the 60th anniversary of India and Pakistan gaining independence. This is a big day. Chez la Morshaw. It's a big day, as they say in Gaelic. Because while on one level, this is simply the launch of a white paper on Scotland's future, in truth, it's much more than that. Because today is also the start of the next, and I hope the most dynamic phase of Scotland's progress of constitutional reform. Today is a moment when, as First Minister, I ask every Scot to pause and reflect, not just on what kind of country we are, but on the kind of country we could be, the kind of country we should be. And today is the start of the most wide-ranging, inclusive, imaginative, direct effort from any Scottish Government to engage every person in this country and Firth of Scotland who has a view on the future of our nation. The days of top-down government delivered from on high to an unsuspecting, compliant population, these days are over. This debate, one focused on the question of the next stage of self-government, demands the attention of every Scot. It does so not because Scotland is entirely united on the best option for further constitutional change, but rather because we are now united in the belief that no change is no longer an option. Just as the settled will of the Scottish people was once for the creation of a parliament, so now the settled will is that Parliament will grow in influence and in authority. Now, it would be a simple matter for me today to crow about how, even before this document was even published, the tectonic plates of Scottish politics had shifted once again. There is now no substantive debate about whether there should be change, only what change there should be. After all, it's only last year that the former First Minister used the John P. Mackintosh lecture, that's the John P. Mackintosh lecture, to say that all was for the best in the best of worlds and we should concentrate on doing less better. This government thinks that we should focus on doing more, much more, and doing it well. It's only a few weeks ago that the present Secretary of State for Scotland reversed Donald Dure's dictum to claim that devolution was an event, not a process. Well, now, in Scotland at least, we seem to be all agreed that it is indeed a process. However, what we are doing today is more important than teasing the Labour Party. Let us acknowledge that there are a range of options which carry support, from greater devolution to fiscal autonomy to full independence. The insistence on only one of these options in a national debate to the exclusion of others would diminish that process of debate. So in contrast, I am committed to a new chapter in Scottish politics, one in which the story and the script is written by the people and not just by the politicians. Some matters transcend the normal interplay of politics, and the question of our constitutional future must surely be one of these. It is clear that the people's voice must be heard. Regardless of the support for the various parties, the various constitutional options, one statistic from the last year stands out and compels a response. When asked in every single poll, every single test of opinion, a vast majority of up to 80% of the Scottish people support the idea, the concept of a referendum. Let me therefore make it clear that it's unthinkable that substantive change will come without the express approval of the people in a national referendum. Of course, as the White Paper details, individual subjects could be devolved if a consensus could be reached. Broadcasting perhaps could emerge as a fairly early example of that. However, independence, or arguably any substantial shift in power, would require a referendum. Now, that's my position, not just as First Minister, but as a Democrat. I believe in the sovereignty of the Scottish people, their right to choose the status of the country in which we live. What remains open, of course, is precisely what question or questions might be asked. But that's why Scotland needs this debate. We need clarity about the options for change. This process will crystallise the constitutional options for Scotland in a way that's never before been achieved. As is right and as the people would expect, the government has today set out its clear preference, a referendum on national independence. We have published a proposal which, if passed by the Scots Parliament, would give every single Scottish voter the right to choose. We have also explained in more detail than ever before, in a more dispassionate way than ever before, the options, challenges and opportunities which the emergence of an independent Scotland would bring. But in delivering that clarity and expressing that clear preference, we ask others to match that initiative. Just as it's right that the people of Scotland will be given clarity on what independence will mean, so too they will seek clarity from others as what is meant by terms like federalism or greater devolution. There have been many significant and intelligent contributions over the last years from those seeking to define what additional powers could flow from Westminster to Holyrood. But now is the time for those who are not yet persuaded of the argument for full independence to be clear about their alternative. In the document, in this white paper, we seek to assist the process by spelling out some of the options. But in reality, it's for those who seek further devolution as an alternative to independence to contribute to this conversation to make their case. A striking feature of this paper is its openness to persuasion. It is a white paper, but it has considerable green edges. I believe that's not a weakness, but a strength. This is a parliament, after all, which was elected by proportional representation. It is a parliament which deliberately reflects the diversity of Scottish opinion. In this new era of Scottish politics, the government requires to build consensus, to persuade on every issue, and the question of constitutional change is no different. That, of course, might mean that calls may emerge for a multi-option referendum. So let me state at the start of this process that while that might not be my preference, I am relaxed about that possibility. After all, a government should never be afraid to test its own preferred policy against the alternatives. But a multi-option referendum requires the alternatives to be as clear as independence, or indeed the no change options already are. The opportunity now presents itself for those who want another option in a referendum to define that option, present the case for government for inclusion on a ballot paper. There is another aspect to all of this I'd like to establish on this day one of our national conversation. Much of the debate in Scotland's future has been characterised not by just intelligent, substantial contributions, but by negative sniping, by visions of apocalyptic despair, of a profound negativity. That tone scarred this year's election, as it has scarred, indeed, just about every election since devolution started. What was different this time, of course, is that negativity was rejected by the people of Scotland. So this new debate should start as it means to continue. It should be open, respectful, robust, certainly, but dignified. The challenge for political leaders is to make a case for their preferred position in positive terms. I acknowledge those who believe in the status quo, and indeed to those who perhaps didn't want a parliament to exist at all. That is a perfectly legitimate position, albeit a minority one. I also understand the range of people in Scotland who are passionately Scottish and want gradual evolution, trusting Scottish Government more and more in an incremental process. I also pay tribute to those in every political party and those in none who have been engaged in this debate for many years and who continue to seek progress to stimulate thought. And I respect the role of organisations like churches, business groups, voluntary organisations and others right across civic Scotland who reflect a distinct voice in these matters and bring with it wisdom and expertise. But in doing all of that, I ask one and only one thing in return. Let's have this debate in the context of civility, intelligence, maturity. The people of Scotland want leadership focused on the best option for Scotland, what promotes the national and international position of our country, what offers the best opportunity for them and their families in the generations to come. Divergent views are the very essence of democracy. Robust debate is part of what makes us Scottish. The exchanges, the criticism, the debate must be passionate. How else could it be in Scotland? But let these contributions be based in fact, reason, logic, rather than smears or allegation or misinformation. Scotland deserves no less. Now, my government was elected on a manifesto commitment to deliver within 100 days a white paper on the future of Scotland, encompassing a proposal for an independence referendum. Today it gives me considerable pleasure to fulfil that pledge. We do it as part of a national conversation because we recognise there is more talking yet to be done. We live in a time of constitutional evolution. Throughout the United Kingdom, we see regions and nations pausing to reflect on their identity, the kind of government most likely to deliver for the people. In Scotland, we now lead that debate once again. Today, once more, we stand at the forefront of those seeking change and change for the better. When elected First Minister, I pledged to act in the national interest. And in doing so today, I offer a white paper designed to outline the government's preference for independence, but also one that commits to an open debate. I do so deliberately to encourage anyone and everyone in this country, and indeed beyond, who has a view on our future to contribute. I do so openly, I do so honestly as someone who has believed all of my political life that the natural condition for their ancient nation is equality of status among the other nations of the world. But I do so determinedly as a First Minister who understands the need to engage, to listen, and to lead progress. As we open this national conversation, online in Parliament, in the media, in Scottish society, and amongst our network of Scots around the world, I'm reminded once again of the words of Alistair Gray. And so, in embarking on this national conversation, let us act as if these are the best days, the first days of a better nation. Thank you very much indeed.